Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiret Nashtabrayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So, continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam and starting chapter 12, Birth of Emperor Parikshit, text number 1 onwards. Shri Shaunak Uvacha Ashwathamo Srishtena Brahma Shirshno Rutejasa Uttaraya Hato Garbha Ishena Jivitaha Punaha. The sage Shaunak said, "The womb of Uttara, mother of Maharaj Parikshit, was spoiled by the dreadful and invincible Brahmastra weapon released by Ashwathama. But Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Supreme Lord." So far, Sud Goswami was speaking about how Krishna when we came back to Dwarka, but now there was nothing new happening there for time being. So these sages in Naimisharanya, now they changed the topic. They said, now what happened to Parikshit Maharaj, how he was born and what did he do? The sages assembled in the forest of Naimisharanya inquired from Sut Goswami about the birth of Maharaj Parikshit. But in the course of the narration, other topics like the release of Brahmastra by the son of Drona, his punishment by Arjun, Queen Kunti Devi's prayers, the Pandavas' visit to the place where Bhishma was lying, his prayers, and thereafter the Lord's departure for Dwarka were discussed. His arrival at Dwarka and residing with the 16,000 queens, etc., were narrated. Now the sages were absorbed in hearing such descriptions, but now they wanted to turn to the original topic. And thus the inquiry was made by Shaunak Rishi. So the subject of the release of Brahmastra weapon by Ashwatthama is renewed. So now they wanted to go back to the original topic where it all started. Tasya janma mahabuddhe karmani cha mahatmana nidhanam cha yathavasit pretyagatvan yatha. How was a great emperor Parikshit, who was a highly intelligent and great devotee, born in that womb? How did his death take place, and what did he achieve after his death? So they want to know all about Maharaj Parikshit. The king of Hastinapur, now Delhi, used to be the emperor of the world, at least till the time of the son of Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Lord in the womb of his mother, so he could certainly be saved from an untimely death due to the ill will of the son of a Brahman. Because the age of Kali began to act just after the assumption of power by Maharaj Parikshit, the first sign of misgivings was exhibited in the cursing of such a greatly intelligent and devoted king as Maharaj Parikshit. So this is how Kali Yuga began, actually, when Maharaj Parikshit was cursed by that son of a Brahman. The king is a protector of the helpless citizens, and their welfare, peace, and prosperity depend on him. Unfortunately, by the instigation of the fallen age of Kali, an unfortunate Brahmana's son was employed to condemn the innocent Maharaj Parikshit, and so the king had to prepare himself for death within 7 days. Well, we can say it was because of this Brahman son, this all happened, but actually it was a plan of Krishna because he wanted Shrimad Bhagavatam to be spoken and Maharaj Parikshit to be the first listener in that assembly. History will ever record this unfortunate incident of how a great king was killed by the unkind intrigue of the fallen son of a Brahman. Maharaj Parikshit is especially famous as one who is protected by Vishnu. And when he was unduly cursed by a Brahman's son, he could have invoked the mercy of the Lord to save him. But he did not want to because he was a pure devotee. A pure devotee never asks the Lord for any undue favor. A pure devotee never asks the Lord for any undue favor. So Maharaj Parikshit could have asked for the pardon or for the protection by the Lord. He was protected in the womb of Mother Uttara, where he could have been easily protected by this curse of Brahman. But Maharaj Parikshit didn't want to. So that's why Krishna didn't intervene either. And moreover, it was all Krishna's plan. We'll see later on. Maharaj Parikshit knew that the curse of the Brahman's son upon him was unjustified, as everyone else knew, but he did not want to counteract it, because he knew also that the age of Kali had begun, and that the first symptom of the age, namely degradation of the highly talented Brahman community, had also begun. He did not want to interfere with the current of the time, but he prepared himself to meet death very cheerfully and very properly. Being fortunate, he got at least 7 days to prepare himself to meet death. And so he properly utilized the time in the association of Shukdev Goswami, the great saint and devotee of the Lord. So Prabhupada, in one place, he said Parikshit Maharaj had guaranteed 7 days to live. So he prepared himself very nicely. We don't even have 7 minutes guaranteed, actually. So, how prepared and how ready we should be to meet death? It can come at any time. So, we should be prepared. Tadidam shrotum ichchamu gatitum yadi manyase bruhi na shraddhananam yasya jnanam adachuka. We all respectfully want to hear about him, Maharaj Parikshit, to whom Shukdev Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. Please speak on this matter. Shukdev Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge to Maharaj Parikshit during the remaining 7 days of his life, and Maharaj Parikshit heard him properly, just like an ardent student. So that's also the quality of a student. He should be very eager. And moreover, since Maharaj Parikshit was put in that desperate situation, he had only 7 days to live. So he was very desperate to find out. In fact, one of his questions is, uh, what is the duty of a person who is about to die? So these kind of questions can only be asked by a person who knows very well the importance of human life, the importance of uh, the time of death which is coming up, and who's very desperate, because we are not like Arjun was also very desperate when he asked questions to Krishna, and then Krishna spoke whole Bhagavad Gita. Because we are not that serious, we are not that sincere, that's why that eagerness within the heart does not come, that I want to know more, I want to find out how can I go back, what to do now. Our eagerness is not there. So somehow, slowly, we have to develop that eagerness, that desire. Like Rupa Goswami says, there's only one price to pay to get Krishna, to buy Krishna, and that price is laulyam. Laulyam is not just the eagerness; it's an earnest desire. Yes, I want Krishna. I don't want anything else. So then and then only Krishna will reveal. Like Maharaj Parikshit, he was an ardent student. Now we will see when Shukdev Goswami started speaking, and 7 days, 7 nights, nobody got up, nobody slept, nobody ate anything, and that's how eager Maharaj Parikshit was. And he was asking questions. He was listening attentively, and with the eager heart, the desperate heart, with the heart, with I mean, he was absorbing everything that Shukdev Goswami was speaking. And in between, Shukdev Goswami also tested him a few times if he is really paying attention or not. So that's a student, and then obviously then he gets a worthy teacher like Shukdev Goswami. So that kind of eagerness we have to develop. Like Srila Prabhupada also once he said, uh, during Brajmandal Parikrama, he went with his Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and there were so many of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. So they went to a place called Sheshashai, where Krishna appeared as Lord Narayan, Chaturbush Narayan. He was lying down on the Anant Shesha. So there Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was supposed to give lecture in the evening, but so many of his sannyasi disciples, they went to take darshan of different temples. But Prabhupada never went. And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he gave wonderful lecture. He was known for his scholarship. And Prabhupada later told that I didn't understand anything what my Guru Maharaj was saying. It wasn't the English problem. It was Prabhupada, according to Prabhupada, it was like the philosophy was too high for him to understand. But he said, I just sat there and listened. And he said, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj marked me, my Gurudev marked me, and he told somebody, because he listens nicely, he doesn't go away when I'm speaking, he will speak nicely. So that is a test. In fact, when Srila Prabhupada used to give lectures in America in the beginning, hardly anybody could understand his thick Bengali accent. They were all Americans. They were all young, 19, 20, 21-year-old boys. And Prabhupada was 70-year-old Bengali, Vaishnav, with thick Bengali accent. They didn't really understand the philosophy what Prabhupada was speaking, but they liked the association of Prabhupada. They liked to sit there and listen or pretend to listen. And that's how they made progress. In fact, when Prabhupada came to India in 67 or 68, he came, and then again he came in 72. And 72, Prabhupada was giving lectures in Vrindavan. And at one place, he was giving lecture in Hindi. And his American disciple, they started to leave. And Prabhupada told them, no, don't leave, just sit down, listen. They said, Prabhupada, we don't understand Hindi. Prabhupada said, doesn't matter, you sit down and listen. Even Hindi lecture, they had to sit down and listen. Of course, they didn't understand anything, but Prabhupada was preparing them that you'll sit down and listen, and you will get the transcendental knowledge. Because knowledge is transcendental. It's not limited by the language barrier. So that desperateness has to be there, that eagerness has to be there to listen. The effect of such a bona fide hearing and chanting of Srimad Bhagavatam was equally shared by both the hearer and the chanter. Both of them were benefited. Out of the 9 different transcendental means of devotional service to the Lord prescribed in the Bhagavatam, either all of them or some of them or even one of them are equally beneficial if properly discharged. Maharaj Parikshit and Shukdev Goswami were serious performers of the first 2 important items, namely the process of chanting and the process of hearing. And therefore, both of them were successful in the laudable attempt. Transcendental realization is attained by such serious hearing and chanting, and not otherwise. There is a type of spiritual master and disciple much advertised in this age of Kali. It is said that the master injects spiritual force into the disciple by an electric current generated by the master, and the disciple begins to feel the shock. He becomes unconscious, and the master weeps for his exhausting his store of so-called spiritual assets. So what Prabhupada is referring to is, there was one so-called spiritual master, and he had disciple. And spiritual master put his hand on the head of the disciple, and it gives disciple an electric shock. So what they say is that the knowledge has been transferred from the master to the disciple. And now the master has no asset, no value, because and then he weeps that I have exhausted all my knowledge. I have given you everything. But this is all bogus. No such thing happens. Such bogus advertisement is going on in this age, and the poor common man is becoming the victim of such advertisement. We do not find such folk tales in the dealings of Shukdev Goswami and his great disciple Maharaj Parikshit. So it wasn't that Shukdev Goswami, when he was speaking Bhagavatam, and Maharaj Parikshit and other sages were listening, that it was like after 7 days, Shukdev Goswami had no knowledge left at all, no powers left at all. It wasn't like that. So this is the real way of getting the knowledge, not by electric shock or anything. Sit down, listen, humbly ask questions, and clarify the doubts, and practically apply it, and they get the realizations. And that's all it is. The sage recited Srimad Bhagavatam in devotion, and the great king heard him properly. The king did not feel any shock of electric current from the master, nor did he become unconscious while receiving knowledge from the master. One should not, therefore, become a victim of these unauthorized advertisements. The sages of Naimisharanya were very respectful in hearing about Maharaj Parikshit because of his receiving knowledge from Shukdev Goswami by means of ardent hearing. That is the only way to receive transcendental knowledge, and there is no need for medical performance or occult mysticism for miraculous effects. The process is simple, but only the sincere party can achieve the desired result. So this is the real process, and one should follow this bona fide process. Next four. Sutvacha Apipalladharmaraja Pitrivad Ranjayan Praja Nisprihak Sarva Kamebhya Krishna Padanusevaya. Shri Sud Goswami said, Emperor Yudhishthir administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like a father. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification because of his continuous service unto the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna. So now Sud Goswami will go back to Hastinapur, and because Maharaj Parikshit is already born in the family of Maharaj Yudhishthir, and now Sud Goswami will start from how Maharaj Yudhishthir was doing. Now Krishna is in Dwarka, so he'll wind up his pastimes and how Maharaj Yudhishthir is ruling over, and then what happens? How Parikshit becomes the king, and how Parikshit gets cursed, and so many other pastimes that happen. As mentioned in our introduction, there is a need for the science of Krishna in human society for all the suffering humanity of the world. And we simply request the leading personalities of all nations to take to the science of Krishna for their own good, for the good of the society, and for the good of all the people of the world. So it is confirmed herein by the example of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the personality of goodness. In India, the people hanker after Ram Rajya because the personality of Godhead was the ideal king, and all other kings or emperors in India controlled the destiny of the world for the prosperity of every living being who took birth on the earth. So Prabhupada is talking about in India, people always hanker for Ram Rajya. Ram, of course, Lord Ram was the ideal king, and he is the supreme personality of Godhead also. But in the in the current days, Maharaj Yudhishthira is considered as an ideal king. And he took care of all the praja. Praja means anybody born in that kingdom. Anybody means be it animal, be it plant, be it a human being. He took care of everybody. Herein, the word praja is significant. The etymological import of the word is that which is born. On the earth, there are many species of life, from the aquatics up to the perfect human beings, and all are known as prajas. Lord Brahma, the creator of this particular universe, is known as the Prajapati because he is the grandfather of all who have taken birth. Thus, Praja is used in a broader sense than it is now used. The king is meant to protect all living beings, namely the aquatics, plants, trees, reptiles, birds, animals, and men. Every one of them is a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and the king, being the representative of the Supreme Lord, is duty bound to give proper protection to every one of them. So this is the real king, and Maharaj Yudhishthira was an ideal king. That, in fact, earlier we read when before Yudhishthira Maharaj went to Bhishma Dev, it was said about King Yudhishthira's administration that everybody in his kingdom, they didn't have any of the three miseries: Adidavik, Adibhotik, Adhyatmik miseries or klesha. Nobody. Can we imagine the kind of administration? And that was only 5,000 years ago. Lord Ram ruled over in Treta Yuga. That was many, many years ago. And he was Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So his kingdom, yes, it was ideal. And later on, or before that, Prithu Maharaj, he's also Shaktiavesh Avatar. So his rule is also considered ideal rule. But in the current days, Maharaj Yudhishthira was considered the ideal king. So king is duty bound to give proper protection to every one of them. This is not the case with the presidents and dictators of this demoralized system of administration, where the lower animals are given no protection, while the higher animals are given so-called protection. But this is a great science which can be learned only by one who knows the science of Krishna. Therefore, a king like Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was a personality of goodness, wanted everyone under his administration, especially human beings who have better developed consciousness, to become devotees of Lord Krishna, so that everyone can become free from the trifles of material existence. His motto of administration was all good for the citizens. For as personified their goodness, he knew perfectly well what is actually good for them. So that was Maharaj Yudhishthira. Maharaj Yudhishthira therefore was constantly engaged in the service of the Lord, and thus the parts and parcels of the Lord, the living beings under his careful administration, were perfectly attended with all comforts in this life and all progress in the next. That is a way of perfect management of state administration. So this is what Maharaj Yudhishthira was. That's why Krishna, he orchestrated the whole war of Mahabharata to put Maharaj Yudhishthira on the throne, because he knew these are the qualities of Maharaj Yudhishthira, and he can rule perfectly according to the principles of religion. Sampada kritvo loka maheshi bhratro mahi jambu dvipadhipatyam cha yashascha tridivam gatam. News even reached the celestial planets about Maharaj Yudhishthira's worldly possessions, the sacrifices by which he would attain a better destination, his queen, his stalwart brothers, his extensive land, his sovereignty over the planet Earth, and his fame, etc. So his glories, the news of his glories, even reached the celestial planets, the Svargloka. Can we imagine? I mean, only a rich and great man's name and fame are known all over the world, and the name and fame of Maharaj Yudhishthira reached the higher planets because of his good administration, worldly possessions, glorious wife Draupadi, the strength of his brothers Bhima and Arjuna, and his solid sovereign power over the world known as Jambu Dvipa. Here the word loka is significant. There are different lokas or higher planets scattered all over the sky, both material and spiritual. A person can reach them by dint of his work in the present life. No forceful entrance is allowed there. So this is what, and one must qualify himself to enter into such happy planets by sacrifice and service. Those who are sinful in every step of life can expect only to be degraded into animal life, to suffer more and more the pangs of material existence. And this is also stated in Bhagavad Gita. So Maharaj Yudhishthir's good sacrifices and qualifications were so lofty and virtuous that even the residents of the higher celestial planets were already prepared to receive him as one of them. So this is a position which Maharaj Yudhishthira had. It was a position of great responsibility, and of course, it came with lots of benefits. So, since he ruled over properly, he was ready to be received by higher celestial planets people. But if somebody misuses his position in the form of a leader, just like Srila Prabhupada spoke in one of the lectures about Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he said Nehru, after his death, he had to take the body of a dog, the birth of a dog, in Sweden, in a family where there is already another dog. So he had to share the love of the family with another dog. And this is what Prabhupada said. And if Prabhupada said it, must be true. So we have no way to find that out except what Prabhupada said. Although Nehru was the leader, the first Prime Minister of India after independence, but since he didn't rule over according to the principles of religion, he had to take the birth of as a dog. And even before Mahatma Gandhi's death, 1 month before that, Prabhupada had written to him that you are a great leader. Why don't you disseminate the message of Bhagavad Gita to the people in general? They will listen to you. And if you don't do that, you will meet inglorious death. And Prabhupada wrote that in a letter. And this was before even Prabhupada even came to America. And Mahatma Gandhi died in 1948. And Prabhupada came to America in 65, 66. But Prabhupada wrote to him. And this is what happened. So position of leadership, yes, it comes with lots of benefits, but it has lots of responsibility also at the same time. So a leader should at least try, even if he cannot make sure, but he should try to take his dependence on the path of mukti, on the path of liberation, on the path of bhakti. So for that, one has to be a devotee himself, and then he can guide others, lead others. Otherwise, like in Manu Samhita, it is said all the leaders have to take 1/6 of the karma of their dependents. So good luck for all the politicians these days. 1/6 of the karma of all the population. That's lots of karma. And that leader doesn't mean just the prime minister or the president. Any leader. Any leader means even if he's a MLA or a councillor or a leader of the street or a leader of the household, leader of the family, head of the family. He has to take the karma of his dependents if he doesn't lead them, if he doesn't at least tell them the right path. So it's already over time. I'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Beautiful lecture.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. One question.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, you said pure devotees never ask for undue favors. But
this is what Prabhupada said. I didn't say that.
Okay. But Prabhuji, we see in troubled times, like just like Draupadi prayed, and in case of Parikshit Maharaj, I think Uttara has prayed to Krishna maybe to save Parikshit Maharaj.
Yeah, Mother Uttara prayed when Parikshit Maharaj was in the womb. But when he was cursed by this Brahman boy, Parikshit Maharaj didn't pray for protection. Of course, there are different pastimes. This was the way Krishna wanted Bhagavatam to be spoken. So it had to go like that. Of course, Draupadi, when she prayed to Krishna for protection, that doesn't mean she is not a pure devotee. She's also a pure devotee. And this is explained in Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami, how she is still a pure devotee. So when we come to Nectar of Devotion, we'll discuss that in detail. There are some technical details. It is, yes, he never asked for undue favors. So we have to see what is undue and what is due.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. So in our case, we can ask. There's no problem because we are yet to be even devotees, but to speak of pure devotees.
I'm Prabhuji always asking.
Yeah, we can ask. It's better to ask Krishna, that's all. This way, actually, Krishna likes it also when devotee asks him, because then there's a relationship developed between Krishna and the devotees. Then Krishna feels nice. That this devotee at least thinks that I am his, that I belong to him and he belongs to me. So that's why he's asking. Just like if we ask our father anything, is that a crime? No. It's not a crime, and we should not feel sorry for it. But it just when we grow further, then it's a different story. But right now we are asking our father. And something that is bothering us, we can go and tell him. Whether he fixes or not, that's up to him. But at least he feels good that we have that relationship with him. We have developed that relationship. We have developed that confidence in him. He feels good.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Now I understood.
So we can ask. And in fact, I mean, to tell you more secret, if you are ready, Krishna has so many devotees to look after. So he might get busy. So more than Krishna, if we can go and ask Srila Prabhupada, that will be even faster. He will take care of it faster. He's a pure devotee, and if he says, Krishna, this devotee is in trouble or he wants something, Krishna has to oblige. And Prabhupada has fewer people to look after than Krishna has. So yes, Prabhupada can also take care of our situations. If you don't trust me, just go ask Prabhupada sometime. You will see.
Sure, Prabhuji, I will try this.
I mean, this is theoretical. Now you do practical and then you will have the realizations. And with Srila Prabhupada, actually we have a special relationship. Just like Prabhupada said in his books. A person likes his grandkids more than his own kids, more than his sons. So we are in the category of his grandsons or granddaughters. So Dadaji is more benevolent towards the grandkids. So Prabhupada will definitely fulfill the desires. He'll take care of it. So try it sometime. You will see. Okay. So I'll stop here. You all have a very wonderful Tuesday. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.